Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. It is not only new card release day, it is patch day. I'm letting you know that because the second that patch drops, as soon as humanly possible, I will have a patch video for you in addition to this one. So it's a 2-video day, folks. We're also going to go over Mockingbird, the spotlight cards that come with Mockingbird, which are Ghost Spider and Man-Thing. Yes, Man-Thing has finally come out. We are going to talk about those, but before we get to them, I'm going to do a regular old deck review because, hey, some of you aren't going to get that new card, and I don't want to leave you out in the cold with just theory crafts. This is our deck. Our friend Shuri Enjoyer, the current number 9 ranked player in all of Marvel Snap, who constantly finishes near the top of the Infinite Leaderboard, has taken Shuri Enjoyer. Get it? Shuri Enjoyer has taken Shuri back to the top of Snap. That's the first deck we're going to look at. This is a very classic list. It adds one bit of new spice in Ghost Spider and one bit of old spice in putting Enchantress back in the deck. Enchantress hasn't been in this deck in so freaking long. It's completely wild. Outside of that, the other 10 cards are the known standard good 10 for this list. Next month, what is it? U.S. Agent will replace Lizard, so we'll get a new card for this list, finally. But this is a known list, but Shuri Enjoyer has brought it back for the first time in literally months, since at least Blob came out. The deck is back, it's meta, it's good, it's worth playing. So if you are looking for your Infinite and want something straightforward with really, really simple snap patterns to play, this is for you. So again, this is my deck for those of you who are not getting the new cards. And there is all of one card in this deck that is high series. It is Ghost Spider, and she is the absolute epitome of replaceable. She's occasionally good to steal a win. Like if you don't have an armor and you know they're going to shank your Red Skull, you can pull her over in one place. But when you do that, it's worth remembering that you can no longer Taskmaster that card. But her trick is still like really valuable. If you can do that and then play like a nice Typhoid Mary or Vision in another lane, you can still often win the damn game, which is kind of the point, not to Taskmaster Red Skull, but to win the game. If you don't have Ghost Spider, though, She-Hulk or Alioth work in that spot just fine. Alioth being, oh, they're going to shine my Red Skull. Oh, well, Alioth, no thank you. And She-Hulk is great because then you can do the, if you're not seeing Mobius, and Mobius is everywhere, you can do the I play Shuri on 4, pass on 5, and then go She-Hulk and Taskmaster on 6. Alright, quick turns. Turn 1, 0, only if you're a bajillion% sure you're going to Lizard next. For example, a time I would zero is when like Triskelion came out and I wasn't really drawing a lot, so it would take a lot of luck for me to draw the perfect thing. Usually it's a pass though. Turn 2, Armor is your main play. That's better than 0 plus Maw, which is better than Lizard. Obviously, if they drop a Deadpool, then 0 plus Maw go down the priority chart. Turn 3, Sauron is generally what you want to do. Sauron is in and of himself a snap condition for this deck, and always has been and always will be, because that opens up your last turn Ebony Maw. It gets rid of the downside of a late Lizard. It gets rid of that Typhoid Mary and Red Skull downside, all of which are extremely powerful. Turn 4 is Shuri. Shuri is your other major snap condition. Shuri, particularly with Red Skull, is the goal, but hey, fine. Shuri, Red Skull on armor is 1000% a snap as well. That's generally, again, better than Typhoid Mary. Good. If you're going to play Typhoid Mary, because she's so negative, unless you went Sauron into Typhoid Mary, you're looking to spend Enchantress later, because Typhoid Mary is very often just like a 4-6, because she's taking away a lot of power from your board. Turn 5, Red Skull on that Shuri is generally the goal. Know your opponent's decks, know the meta. If they're running Shang, maybe you prefer Vision to make it harder for them to wreck your life, and those are better than Shuri'd Typhoid Mary. Obviously, without Shuri, you're perfectly happy to just play any of these cards. Next up, you end ideally with a Task and a 1, or sometimes Enchantress and a 2. Enchantress and a Lizard is really good even in a full lane, and will often win you that game. That's it. This is the simplest deck ever. It is one of the best decks. A lot of people are going to yell at me that they're really, really sad to see this one come back. But guess what? It's still back. You should give it a try if you're trying to hit Infinite and struggling. Alright, our new card is Mockingbird. Mockingbird is a 312 Series 5 card you can buy for 6,000 tokens. She costs 1 less for each card you have in play that didn't start in your deck. That's pretty good. She's very often going to be a 3-9. Even if she's a 4-9, she's great stats. And look, I've played Arrow, you've played Arrow, right? A 5/9 is really good stats. No matter what, she's good stats, but when she gets down to a 3/9, we're really, really talking now. And the reason I think a 3/9 is so good is, well, everyone's playing Gladiator, right? Gladiator's a 3/8 with the real downside. Mockingbird takes some work, but she's a 3/9, still under Shang range. Fantastic card. I think it's almost impossible for her not to be good. Also worth noting, the day after she comes out, so she comes out today, Tuesday, as of her release, on Wednesday, this variant comes out. And I think this variant is amazing and damn near worth getting the card in and of itself. This is just a gorgeous variant. I am immediately getting it. I am never splitting it because that background is stellar. I want it. I'm getting it. That releases again tomorrow. It's super rare, so it's 1,200 gold, 1,200 gold, so you decide if you can spare that gold, but I want it. I'm getting it. Also worth noting, these are the Spotlight variants. I like to put these right in the front because some people decide based on which Spotlight variants there are. I don't actually like the Mockingbird Spotlight variant. I don't know why. It feels, I know it's Mockingbird, but it feels almost more like a Bat character for some reason. I don't know, not for me. I do really like this Man-Thing comic book. I have the Venomized Man-Thing. I don't usually like Venomized, but the Venomized Man-Thing is the stuff of nightmares. If I happen to open this on my way to Mockingbird, I will happily run this instead of the Nightmare Fuel Man-Thing. And then we've got Ghost Spider, and this is, as my friend Roy said on the podcast, as we talked about the upcoming Spotlight caches, a very thirsty Ghost Spider. I have a Peach Momoko, and I have a Venomized, so I'm totally good on Ghost Spider. I don't need this variant, but hey, I got the Spotlight caches. I also have the tokens. I will out. So, I'm going to get Mockingbird. I have to in order to bring you the best information on all the cards. Now, I'm not telling you that's what you should do. That's what the rest of this video is for. It's to help you make the most informed decision you can, and I'm going to give you my suggestions based on that. So, her main synergy, her obvious one, is Thanos. And this was written before the World Championships, but Lockdown has again become the modern Thanos. But, like, does she go in a Scar-based Thanos deck, or does she go in a Lockdown Thanos deck? I think she goes in a Lockdown Thanos deck, although there are more than 12 good cards in that deck at this point. 2 Infinity Stones makes her a 3. If you drop an Infinity Stone on 1, Infinity Stone on 2, guess what? You can play a 3/9 on 3. Thanos likes that kind of being ahead of the curve, and then you drop a 4/10, and then you just win, right? Like, the game's basically over. She's going to be good in Loki decks and Agent Dino decks. I'm excited for some, like, sheer Moon Girl stuff. You Moon Girl double She-Hulk, you can also Moon Girl double Mockingbird. She's likely to be good in Patriot decks. Brood brings her down 2 costs. Cards like Squirrel Girl will bring her down, etc. Surfer does a lot of the same cards as Patriot, so it can do the same thing as far as making her cheaper. We have Junk Zoo decks, which cards like Debris will help make her cheaper, so it's worth a try. She counters enemy goblins and Debris, so it might not be the time to play those because they're going to get a really cheap 9 for that. She is Shang-proof, but Mobius should be everywhere by now. If you're interested, I just wrote an article on Marvel Snap Zone about Mobius being the best tech card in Marvel Snap, so I think that is worth knowing. So we're going to feature, like, all of these decks. If you would like your own custom built deck, please check the Marvel Snap Zone Discord. It's linked in the description of this video, and I will help you build a Mockingbird deck with wherever you are on the collection track, should you get her. All right, our friend Drew Berry. Drew Berry is the king of the custom card content. I try really hard, but I think Drew Berry is just the very, very best at this. Drew Berry went through and made an infographic of all the stuff that makes her cheaper. Cool. So we have Hood. Really good way to make her cheaper, right? I'm actually going to go through these cards. I'm really sorry. We have Hood. We have Maria Hill. Solid way, not amazing. You don't always want to play the Maria Hill card, but you do always want to play that demon. Black Knight, kind of crappy way to make her cheaper because Black Knight decks don't run anything else. Snowguard, okay. Snowguard and Maria Hill aren't in and of themselves, nor is Agent 13 really great for this. But, huge caveat. They are, sorry. Something bit my leg and I'm very itchy. My fault. But they are in Loki decks, and Loki decks obviously completely freaking love this. We've got Nico Minoru, who if it turns it into a demon works, otherwise doesn't, so really risky. Multiple Man is probably too much work for it. Sentinel seems good, though, in those Loki or Agent decks. Swarm is at least interesting, if not amazing for it because, again, discard doesn't have 1,000 of these, but fine. Mirage goes in those Loki decks. Shauna says Zoo deck. Thor, no thank you, because the hammer is not going to come out till last turn most of the time. Dokken, you don't really want to play the shard. Coulson goes in those same agent decks. Nick Fury, not the worst thing in those Loki decks. Maybe it gets more play, because if you have Quinjet, you'll fairly often be able to get the Mockingbird down to cheap enough, like to get her to 1, and then if you play a 6 for 5, I don't know. Sentry is actually fairly decent. I like that Hood Sentry. Maybe she's part of the Annihilus package. Who knows? If you go Sentry, you can make her a 3/9 very easily, which is really nice because it'll cover from that Sentry getting shonged, which is the thing. Beta Ray has the same problem as Thor. Moon Girl's probably good. Zola's too expensive. Helicarrier, if you play the cards, it's usually just discard them. And Thanos is, of course, the best. The tokens that work well, we're going to stop after tokens. These are the key ones. Good. The token stuff, Squirrel Girl is amazing. Sinister is fine. Mysterio, I think, is going to be really good. If you can do the Mysterio Hitmonkey thing on turn 5, having just a 9 to drop on turn 6 seems good. Bucky, there's nothing else. Destroy. Ultron is too late. Doom is too late. I could see something with White Tiger, potentially. Brood is a great shout. And then a whole bunch of opponents' cards get fundamentally hard countered by Mockingbird. Including all the stuff that puts rocks on your side of the board or hand, and then the stealing cards, of which the key is Loki, although Morph is at least wildly annoying for that. And then 1,000 locations work, notably Tarnax, Savage Land, and the one that puts squirrels everywhere, the Raft, etc. All of these are going to make Mockingbird cheap. There's almost no way for her to not be good unless the opponent has Mobius. Cool? All right. In the meantime, Drewberry built a Zoo deck out of Mockingbird. This is Drewberry's Mockingbird Zoo deck. I think it's really cool. Basically, if you do Squirrel Girl and Shauna, that's a free Mockingbird. That's a 0/9. That seems pretty damn good, right? You'll have to play it a little earlier than you would generally like to, but you also have the potential of Mysterio for 2 more. So if you did a Squirrel Girl and Mysterio, right, that's a 1 cost. That's starting to look much better, right? Unfortunately, staging the card won't count. It has to be played. But still, having it access to basically a free 9 seems pretty good for a Sarah Zoo list. Meanwhile, we have Doc D's Thanos Mockingbird. This is the standard Thanos list of the last month. I think that's changed as of literally this weekend. But this is the standard list, which runs Mockingbird as just like a cheap threat. It's a way to grab priority for Eliath, and you just have so many threats, right? There are games where you can go Mockingbird on 3 again, Mockingbird on 3, Call on 4, Dino on 5. That's now a free Scar to play with either Blob, Eliath, or Thanos on turn 6. Where are they shonking that is stopping that at the end of the game? If they don't have Coulson, you win. Oh wait, no. Mockingbird would need to get +1 strength somewhere. So, I guess we're safe, sorta, kinda, a little bit there. There's just so much power in this deck, right? So if you did call into Devil Dino, right, after 2 stones, you now have a 3-cost Mockingbird and a 2-cost Scar. So you can play them with another stone. You can play another stone first and make Mockingbird even cheaper. It's completely silly how powerful this is. If you can get either of them free, any of these cards with Shang-Chi just seems completely silly. This is obviously going to be like the home once the Coulson love fest dies down. So that was from our friend Docty. If you'd like to check out Docty does a new card video every week as well. So does our friend It's Guest Gaming, and we're trying to give It's Guest Gaming, our friend who's casting the Snap Judgments League, a little push. So please go check out Guest for some absolutely awesome Marvel Snap content. Guest has this Thanos Zoo list. It is basically saying, well, at the end of the game, if I can drop a really, really cheap Mockingbird, and I do have Squirrel Girl and all the Infinity Stones to do so, and Black Swan to make it cheap, Valkyrie is always going to have a target. And I can often like Valkyrie and Mockingbird, or play Mockingbird in one lane, Valkyrie in another, and that's just so much power. A lot of what I have trouble doing is winning the Spectrum lane, and adding a really cheap 9-cost card goes one hell of a way toward winning that one too. I think that Mockingbird is going to be huge for this style of list. Next up, we have Mockingbird Shenanigans. This is from our friend Den, the head writer at Marvel Snap Zone, our He's just a wonderful person. I'm a giant Den fan. Den has Mockingbird shenanigans, literally just like, okay, so if I discard a Helicarrier and I discard Swarm and I play these cards, that's now making my Mockingbird cheaper. I can Moon Girl those cards to make it cheaper still, or I can just Loki and call it a day. I don't think this is good, but this is too much fun not to share, right? I hope this is good. You have no idea how much I hope this is good. If this is good, I'm going to be in heaven. All right. We have Lufku. Our friend Lufku has an Iron Patriot Mockingbird in a few weeks. I think about 3 weeks. Lufku is going to be on the podcast, just so you know. Get excited in advance. There's not a million targets here, right? But Brood and Sinister just make you have a cheap 9 power card. A cheap 9 power card is good. If you can make Mockingbird cost 3, being able to play Mockingbird with Patriot to end the game is going to win a lot of games of Marvel Snap. It's the entire logic here. This is not the most intensive way to play it, but it's just a nice extra option to have. Remember that these decks used to play Abomination, who is a 5/9 in them. So having access to what could be a 3/9 and then being able to play other cards on top of that is absolutely beautiful. I think I'd likely cut Shang for a little more token generation, or run something like Squirrel Girl. And remember, Lufku didn't make this for Mockingbird. I'm just sort of going through options of where this card fits. Our friend Avazord has an Annie Cull deck. It's just an Annihilus Cull deck. It just plays a bunch of big cards, puts a bunch of junk on the board, and then makes that junk cost less so it can send it to the opponent. But hey, if all that junk that you made from Debris and the Sentry and the Hood happens to give you a really cheap Mockingbird on your way to all these other plays, why the hell not? Feel free to win a game of Marvel Snap that way. This is one of my favorite lists. Whenever I get that win a location with 10 or less power, this is the deck I play. I don't even remember what I replaced from Mockingbird. Something cheap. Oh, Lizard. I replaced Lizard from Mockingbird because I can easily see Mockingbird being a 2, 3, 4 cost card here. We have another Thanos Mockingbird. This is the modern version. This is our friend .geo's version with Mockingbird over... Oh, I have no idea what I put it in over. I genuinely cannot figure out what I cut from this list. I should know this, and I don't. Someone yell at me in the comments about what I cut in this list. Oh, Shang-Chi. I cut Shang-Chi. You probably shouldn't cut Shang-Chi, but I figure with Mockingbird, I can basically always get priority, so I cut Shang-Chi. It might be Psylocke. It might be... I can't be Mobius. It might be Cull. Is that Heresy? Whatever. I think Mockingbird fits here too well to not at least explore, because if you can get Mockingbird really cheap, and you can get Mockingbird really cheap, you can play her and not lose enough tempo that Professor X stops being a really risky play, and that's a scary place to be. Next up, we have Loki. This is, it's just a Mockingbird Loki list, right? This is fairly simple. It says, sometimes I'm going to be playing my generated cards, and if I'm playing my generated cards, Mockingbird is super cheap. Sometimes I'm going to draw this after a Loki, and when that happens, it's going to be super cheap. In this deck, I'm using Mockingbird to replace Gladiator. I think Mockingbird is obviously not going to be on curve like Gladiator, but there's enough stuff on curve that I'm not really worried about it, and late game Mockingbird is exponentially better. She's basically cheaper with no downside, so I'm excited. This is my favorite Loki list, just for the record. We also have a Loki discard. This is another of the shenanigans list. I think this one's cooler because it runs Loki, and I think Loki is really fun and silly. I don't want to get Loki, but playing Loki is very fun in Marvel Snap. So what we have here is a nice, simple way. You fill your hand with Helicarrier. If you play any of those cards, Mockingbird gets really cheap, right? You can also play some of the Coulson cards, but all this stuff is going to grow Collector, Snowguard card, and hey, all that stuff happens to work really well with Loki too. I think this one's pretty freaking cool, if I do say so myself. Alright, it's a simple Dino deck. Basically, this is, I said I want to do a Moon Girl deck. This is my version of the Moon Girl deck. It says I can make Mockingbird cheap. Again, I'm generating cards. I can play those cards. If you don't have Loki, this is a decent place to go. And it let me play Cable, and I miss playing Cable. I really liked that little bit of Loki time where Cable was really good. So I threw Cable in the list. Is he right? Meh. Probably better as Coulson, right? But still, this is a very cool list. I like it an awful lot. Again, if I can double Mockingbird, maybe I want She-Hulk here, maybe I want Sunspot here. If I can double Mockingbird, I'm pretty happy. All right, I think we're just about done now. This is a Corvus Glaive collector list that basically just says, why not Mockingbird? This is like the good stuff E-list. You're not going to get as much use out of Mockingbird usually here, but if you get those swarms out, you get play 2 swarms, she's a 3. If you play anything Moon Girl, she gets really cheap. You would have to play it the next turn, but that's still a doable thing with this deck. And yeah, just go to town that way. It's really good. All right, this is from Set Camper. This is a high evo list. I don't know if this makes any sense, but basically you've got Loki, so you've got Mockingbird. You can also Moon Girl off She-Hulk and Mockingbird. You can hope to make some of this stuff cheaper. It's complete shenanigan time for this deck, but it all gets cheaper with Quinjet. It's nonsense, but it should be very good and very fun nonsense. I have no idea if this worked, but this is very cool. So props to Set Camper. All right. We also, finally, this one's the last one. This is our friend Zal Snap, who was on the podcast last week with Tucker. Zal Snap was rocking faces with with this list until Mobius started being everywhere. But he was absolutely rocking faces with this list. So I figure a decent amount of the time, Moon Girl and Mysterio are going to let me do some shenanigans and get Mockingbird out. If I have Quinjet out and I Moon Girl and I can get my Wasp, Hitmonkey, Mysterio nonsense going, then I've got basically a free Mockingbird to play at the end of the game. I can play a free Mockingbird and She-Hulk on top of my shenanigans. Yes, please, thank you. All right, final thoughts on Mockingbird. So does Mockingbird look good? So I think she's basically guaranteed to be meta. This week is going to be about as bad as she gets because I keep saying, have I been saying Coulson? Mobius will be everywhere. I say Mobius and Coulson interact interchangeably now, and I have no idea why. Mobius will be everywhere, making her as bad as possible. She will get better, I promise. She's usually going to be a 3/9, and we know how good Gladiator is. If you can get her to a 3/9 and play her before your opponent Mobius is, you just profited, right? She's extremely hard to get off the board because she's not 10 power. It's hard to imagine this not being meta in at least Loki and Thanos decks. I think this basically just goes in Loki and Thanos decks from now on. And we're going to check in Friday and Monday, but I think if you like Loki and Thanos, this is a very, very, very safe card to go get. Questions of the day before we move on. Our friend DJ Suplex asks why he sometimes loses ranks in Infinite when he wins 8 cubes. And it's because we're still very early in the season, and some players with higher MMR are very, very often getting Infinite as we're playing. So if I get Infinite immediately, right? And then like 5 other players do, and then Lambie gets Infinite, right? Even if I won 8 cubes and was number 1, I'm still going to fall to number 2 because Lambie's MMR was enough higher than me that I then fell. The other possibility is there's a visual bug where sometimes when you win, your rank goes the wrong way. But those are the 2 possibilities. SD Don't Be Evil asks why there are so few monsters in Snap, Goliath and Brood. Well, Marvel started as like a monster horror comic company, but there's more than Goliath and Brood. There's also Man-Thing. There's also Blade. There's also Dracula. There's Abomination. There's Giganto. There's a whole bunch. In fact, I think we're kind of set on monsters, except I want Fing Fang Foom. I love me some dinosaur in purple undies. So give me some Fing Fang Foom, and we'll be good to go. 89 Mogan asks my thoughts on a Fantastic Four movie and who should play Doom. If a Fantastic Four movie is right, it'll be my favorite Marvel movie. I don't have a lot of faith in that at this point in the MCU. I don't think they're bad. I just think that they're sort of like, I think the TV shows were a bad idea. It made them feel less special and made it feel like they had to try and make too much important instead of letting things develop. So I'm not like super hopeful, but I am unreasonably excited. As for who should play Doom, I don't really like to do that. I don't want it to be someone like uber famous. I just want it to be a good actor. Marvel succeeded a lot by giving like not unknowns, Robert Downey Jr. especially, right? But by giving like not the most known, not the most popular actors major roles and letting them develop into those roles and helping them become huge stars. That's what I want for Doctor Doom. And just a quick reminder, there will be a second video upon the patch. Please don't miss out. If you'd like your questions read out in tomorrow's video, leave them in the comments. All right, Man-Thing is our first spotlight card. Man-Thing is finally out. If you get the reference, great. Let me know. But Man-Thing has finally come out. He is a Series 4, 3,000 token card, 4/5. He releases a Series 4 card, by the way. 4/5 ongoing. 1, 2, and 3 cost cards here have -2 power, which means he can very often be like a 4/11 if you play him right. It's really, really, really easy to get him to a 4-9. 4-11 is common. And 413 is rare, but hey, whatever. So it's pretty, that's a great stat rate. You know I'd be going crazy for that stat rate, but he is hard to use. Because you want to play low-cost cards too, and you don't want to feel like he's useless if you don't Luke Cage, and so on. And he's not quite big enough to win a lane alone. He doesn't, like, scale up that high. So he's very good, theoretically, and kind of hard to use in practice. He's not a card you need. Two decks to play him with. The first is this Toxic Sarah list. This is a reasonably high win rate deck. It basically uses him at the end of the game, once everything is played, you just drop him in a lane you've hopefully looped earlier, and then you win, right? You just say, thank you, we're good. Because you have Zabu, you can make him cost 2. If you can play like him and Shang or him and Enchantress, you're good. You really, really, really want to reveal last, because you can also drop like a Hazmat Man thing to end the game, which is just like, oh my gosh, all the opponents' power is gone in that one lane, and you can win in that manner. If you can do that with Shang, you can Shang away their big thing, win one lane that way, Man Thing and Hazmat another. You probably win that game, Marvel Snap. It's a very fun list. Is it great? Nope. Too many lists don't care about it. Next up, we have a Haivo list. In this list, you're basically using Man Thing to make Abomination as cheap as possible. If Abomination is cheap, you should be able to get priority. If you can get priority, then Alioth is going to be stellar and win you the game of Marvel Snap. That's basically this list's entire theory. You have Luke Cage, again, to protect the ridiculous amount of cheap things from Man Thing, but Man Thing and Omega Red are also really good at winning a lane together. This is a very cool list. Again, not the best list. I don't think Man Thing's a very good card, but it is a cool list. He is fun to play and mess around with. Our final fun to play and mess around with, I think this might be the best list, is a Cerebro 5. Cerebro decks, if you didn't know, love Luke Cage, even when he's not the right cost, because, well, Luke makes sure that your stuff doesn't get lowered by stuff like a Scorpion or opposing Hazmat or whatever nonsense, certain locations. So Cerebro 4, Cerebro 5 can still run Luke, and so Man Thing is really solid in this list. You can also Enchantress the Man Thing ability away if it's going to ruin your life, but it is very strong and very good. It's also really funny that if Man Thing gets rogued, the ability stays the same because it's affecting both sides. This is just a bunch of 5-cost cards that you make 5 power cards that you make 7 power cards and can win the game that way. Man Thing is really solid in this list. This is no longer a meta list. It had its moment in the sun, but that moment has passed, and Man Thing wasn't in the best version even then. Alright, our other spotlight card is Ghost Spider. Ghost Spider is a much better card than Man Thing. Ghost Spider is a 1/2 Series 4, 3,000 tokens, former Season Pass card. Honor of the last card you played moves here. Ghost Spider has 1,000 shenanigans. We saw Ghost Spider in a deck already. Let's look at some more Ghost Spider decks. We have Ragged's move. Ragged, hi Ragged, is probably watching the video. Finished top 4 in the World Championships with this exact deck, which is literally unplayable without Ghost Spider. Ghost Spider, along with Iron Fist, are just like the core to the basic move list. These basic move lists all need Ghost Spider. If you want to learn how to play this deck, at least the beginnings of it, this is the hardest deck in the game to play, check yesterday morning's video. Our friend Min, the homie Min, whose name you'll hear again before the end of the video, has a move deck. So Min's move deck is this one here. It uses Sarah basically as an extra way to cheat things out, and Psylocke to try and get Sarah out or Spider-Man 29 out early, because it lets you cheat more, and cheating more is good. This one's a little easier to play than Ragged's. Is it more powerful? Depends how good you are at using the bounce and the Negasonic. Cool. We also have the Shuri Enjoyer version of this. Shuri Enjoyer twice in one video. Ugh, what is that guy, good at Snap? Well, yes. This is another bounce list. This is actually very similar to Ragged's list. It is changing that Doctor Strange for Raven and basically running Enchantress instead of Negasonic, and otherwise they're very similar. But this list is capable of reaching the top of Marvel Snap. If you are a chess-minded player who can plan everything out far, far, far in advance, you should play this kind of list. You will not regret it. You will win cubes. However, as you learn, you're going to lose some cubes. The easiest place to play Ghost Spider is a Phoenix Force deck. Jet has an updated version of his list, by the way, so we're going to talk about that down the line. But this is the standard, easiest to use Phoenix Force list. Ghost Spider goes in it. She is completely and utterly irreplaceable in this list. When you Phoenix Force and pull that Phoenix Force, when you play it on turn 5, there's like not really another great way to do that. You can try Iron Fist. It is significantly worse. Sometimes pulling that Nimrod out of an armor or Cosmo or something wins the game too. These are really important plays that you don't get from any other card. Ghost Spider is a requirement if you want to make Phoenix Force work. So conclusions. Man Thing is fun but mostly useless. If you want to learn Bounce, and that should say Move, please excuse me. If you want to learn Move, Ghost Spider is required. She's really good for Bounce Move, obviously. If you want to play Phoenix Force, Ghost Spider is required. But she's 3,000 tokens, so you can get her in other ways. That is half value. But Mockingbird is likely to be meta, so I think if you need both, you should probably open for both. You'll obviously need Mockingbird, right? But if you need Ghost Spider, I think it's probably worth opening for both of these unless you need Ms. Marvel. I think Ms. Marvel is probably more valuable than either of these cards. Cool? Depending on what you want to play, obviously. Ms. Marvel goes in a lot of decks, though. So I think Ms. Marvel is probably more valuable, like in the broader sense, but if you want to play these specific decks, open for these two, or if you have enough caches for both, open for these two. Generally speaking, my advice is always, though, wait until Friday unless you need that Mockingbird variant that I'm getting. But really, seriously, wait until Friday. Don't make early decisions and regret them. Wait until Friday. If the card is performing really well, get it. And if you feel like you don't need it on Friday, that's fine. Also, a reminder on Friday's video, and then on Monday's video, I will do 2 more reviews of Mockingbird as we have more information. Certain tiers of support come with on-air thanks. If you would like to have your name here, please join our Patreon at patreon.com/snapjudgments. We are going to thank Abigail Giesland, Mandatory Burnout, Cables, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, Father Newman, Good Dog Gamer, Inc., Jane Every, JD McDonald Lino, Akila Platino, Caretix Lee, Koiray, KCH, Doku, Philip Ratkovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins, Rob Silverman, Robert River, The Bizza, J Bussy, X-Force V, Skippy G, Timmy Nyquist, Black Dahlia, The Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, Models, Lou Antunes, Matt Conduit, Matt H, Mikey Hijinks, No Flex, Ocularis, Pretty Chill, Seamus, Spike Jones, Two Ties, The Pirate King Tucker, The Homie Min, and of course, Gunny T. Final thoughts. Mockingbird's going to be great down the line, if not right away. Hit that sub button, hit that like, hit that comment. Watch for as long as you possibly can. If you're watching at this point, you already have. Longer view times really help us out. If you're interested in becoming a patron and supporting us at that next level, please do so. Don't forget, you get access to all of our league play and tournaments for doing so. See you tomorrow/later today when the patch drops for another Snap Take. Peace.